Oh, the track you're hearing is East. Wait, I think I'll name it. East Othin Felghana OST, The Boy Who Had Wings. Yeah, this is a fucking banger track. I've loved it since I first heard it, and also the composition is just so good. It's just so unique. But upon listening to this again, I realised so many different things about this arrangement I didn't realise before, even though I've listened to it at least like 10 times. But there's crazier things going on in this than you might expect. For example, it's an electronic track, but with violin as the main melody. But later on, you have the piano as a solo sort of instrument. So that's a really interesting twist, which I didn't quite expect, and oh my god, it is just amazing. So you can't floor it, it's amazing. What do I even say? But yeah, just enjoy it really. That's all I can say about this track. It's just so good in many different ways. I don't really think there's any flaws with it. It's just a very unique track, and I think that's worth obviously commending alone, not just composition. So yeah, let's move on. Well, it was on the Final Fantasy XIV subreddit, but it's got me interested in a way, but not. They brought up a content creator, which I wouldn't really call a content creator, to be honest, a content farmer, given how prevalent they are in the YouTube space, just fucking pumping out videos like the amount of times I jerk off a day, free, and it's fucking ridiculous. Like, what the hell are you doing? So the content creator's farmer of it is called Xenosys? Xenos sounds better. It sounds a bit inappropriate though, that's why it's funny. But this guy pops up on every single fucking feed I've seen, and actually it's one of the few videos I saw on the current present was his. And admittedly, I'm not really a fan of his content in his style, because it's just chatting on stream, posting clips of it obviously, and not having really a constructive point of view on these things. Whereas I would have rather watched a same sort of length video, but with the effort put into it, hence content farming. And admittedly, I do minimal editing when it comes to my videos and obviously podcasts, but that's because I just don't have the time. I legit have the excuse that I'm physically and mentally ill, so I don't have the time. A lot of my time disappears because of things like my Crohn's disease and just having urges as a result of autism, stimming, and that just ends up causing problems. But with this content, I'm just not really a fan. So imagine the surprise when I saw the criticism that apparently Xenos was calling out Mr. Happy, who is another content creator I've also seen in the space, which I'm not really sure on. I don't know if I know the content that well. From Mr. Happy, I admit there's probably worse content creators out there for Final Fantasy XIV than even these two. I think that's a different thing entirely. I find it quite interesting, either way. But this drama is just it's ridiculous. Because ironically, Xenos is the biggest content farmer I think I've seen for Final Fantasy XIV. That's because his content is just so plastered all over the place, and there's no difference between each thing. It's got his face on it for some reason, so possibly a complete egomaniac or something. Compared to Mr. Happy, as I'm looking at his content, and there are differences in each thing. One of them is a Q&A, which is fair. I could do that. But every bit of content is different here, and admittedly there are quite a lot of videos in 1 month. It's like almost every day it seems, unless I'm misreading. Oh, there are lives as well. Okay, so it's like almost one video every few days. But you know, it's just one of those things, I guess. I don't understand the full context because I don't have Twitter, I don't want to use Twitter. And apparently this all started on Twitter with basically everyone just... It got real violent quick, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Xenos calling Mr. Happy and calling Mr. Happy retarded multiple times, as well as two other people in the Final Fantasy sphere, which is Kate and Senna, I believe. And I didn't know about these two necessarily, but I believe one of these people is the voice actor for Walk the Mat, and she was called out by Xenos for some reason. Like, I'm just so weirded out, and then the first result that comes up on fucking DuckDuckGo, like, great. It wasn't good. It was a completely transphobic fucking piece of media, and I was like, what the fuck? So, I don't know. It's just very weird, and I just don't understand what's going on with this exactly. Like in the drama as well, like, here's the actual Twitter thread. It's interesting how she came off. It's the same fucking windows. Chinese Western reviewers because I said seen him with dumb retarded bitches. Also said I was the worst voice actor I've heard in my life. Just exposed what he said and haven't heard from him since. No. The thing is, like, voice actors are very varied, and I think it could depend on different things. So, one of them is obviously to do with style, so some people's style of voice acting is that you just can't. But others aren't even to do with that, and just, you know, it just depends on what it is, what the game is. And in Final Fantasy XIV, you're not doing anime fucking voices, so you're not expected to do that. So immediately this is just ridiculous. I cannot wrap my head around why this would be an issue anyway. But given the rest of the voice acting in this fucking story anyway, what's the problem? Because there isn't really any sort of top tier voice acting other than, I guess, Solulja, who I found quite entertaining. You know, everyone else is just kind of like, yeah, they're voice actors. But I didn't take much issue with what Mat actually. She's actually one of the best characters in the game, in my opinion. But voice acting is just a different thing entirely, and you're not really here for the voice acting, are you? Because I think if you're here just for that, you'd rather just watch TV. So I find that ridiculous. Yeah, I just find all this very bizarre. But I think it just goes to show that I'm not really a big fan of this Xenos guy anyway, because his style of content again isn't my sort of thing, it's not to my taste, that's a personal issue really, not a public issue. But apparently he'd been banned, and this is where it gets really fucked up. So he got banned for causing this drama on Twitter, and has essentially been caught out for it. Like, the GM literally pulled him out for the thing. I saw the clip, by the way. Pulled him out of a raid and jailed him to confront him about the hate crimes, which I'm honestly surprised I haven't been. I've not been doing hate crimes, just to be clear. But, you know, I've sworn a few times in my fucking bug reports and suggestions. I'm not proud of it. But it's just an average autistic meltdown, not that I can help it really. I just hope there's a system in the future where get sort of a disability sort of thing, sort of address that. But admittedly, it should be on the basis of, you know, people can exploit that. I think that's the biggest problem we see with that sort of thing. But yeah, what else was there with this? I'm looking at the original post, I think, yeah. I looked at the comments on Reddit, and apparently he's been ban evading. So this is posted by a wonderful William? Okay. And I don't see the comment, which is very weird. So yeah, it's very strange and stuff, and yeah, Hello, what is this anyway? I can't find the comment. There it is, Xenosys was banned from Final Fantasy 14 10 days ago. Aggressive got with some baby on, supposedly static, just happened to find a really shy warrior who doesn't talk and has never raided before their proc. He uploaded a clear of B1 as a knife man on his YouTube channel. Is Frieren is going to take actions, or are they just going to look the other way since he's the big Final Fantasy 14 streamer? I don't know. Just from that context, it's very strange. Again, I think the behaviour thing's unacceptable. I think he needs to come to terms with the fact that ironically he's made a video about this, and once you've seen it, it's just a thumbnail. But as I said, it's everywhere. He made a video on WoW versus Final Fantasy 14 toxicity. And, well, I can already tell he's probably going to side with World of Warcraft from that. Although, given that he's playing this game instead, it's probably more to do with how he just thinks that maybe the toxic thing in this game is probably the woke mindset. I'm going to have a guess and say that's what he's been poking fun at, to be honest. Given that he's already using words like retarded to describe people. So that tells you enough about someone's mentality and mindset. It's kind of similar to other people out there sometimes. But I'm wondering when schizo gets considered a slur, because it's been used a lot now, but at the same time it's kind of harmful to actual schizophrenic people who I happen to know. But yeah, fun fact / story, not really fun as well. People do really suffer with schizophrenia. I can tell you that much. It's not nice. The medications are all the reality of being around like different voices and having so many issues makes it hard, and even trying to find safe spaces is impossible. You might think, oh, find something, but you can't. Any sort of thing you pick up, if it involves like an object, it's probably not going to be good for you. So it's a very complicated thing, and I have to be an advocate for better treatment of schizophrenic people, really. It doesn't get discussed enough, in my opinion. So there's another thing. Let's look at more of the comments in here. So let's see. Anything else? He's got infinite bans. If someone is about to form self-induced rage and content by the victim, both removed by game master message. If anyone wants to report it's been sussed, yeah, he's already been exposed. Named Kinslayer on Gold Summer server. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if that's real. Maybe it is. He's just a friend squad full effect in this thread. It's fucking nuts. So, yeah. Trying to think, is there anything else here for context like that? I'm just going to do a big open up and then Control F. There's already a bunch of deleted comments and honest comments. Context. Just 2, okay. It's just a comment of there. As I said, this is kind of silly, and that's what like ban evasions. As someone who used to do that in World of Warcraft and fully admit that I'm wrong, it's deserved. Even though it's like an out of game experience that led to this, I still think it's deserved. I think if you're attacking voice actors and even content creators who themselves aren't really doing anything wrong, it's just fucking terrible. Like, not that Mr. Happy, for example, is a small content creator, or even the voice actors are even quite small. But, this is the thing. I think that the way that things are in this, and also the fact, this is the other thing I forgot to mention actually, he literally has he has a drama playlist. So he strives off this shit. Xenosys, rather. And then if you do a Control F on Mr. Happy, just let me do it in the search box actually. Let me do drama on Mr. Happy. 3 years ago? 4 weeks ago? Like, these aren't even drama. Like, nothing is drama in the title. There are a few things actually. So, FFXIV, ARR, my thoughts on legacy status drama. Oh, it's from 12 years ago, damn. This is a long time player, Mr. Happy. Plug-in drama, I remember that actually. Pre-release drama, 6 years ago. Yeah, literally, the thing is, Mr. Happy isn't even a drama farmer, so it sounds fucking stupid, but that literally is what Xenos is doing. Xenos. But I'm not too informed on this, so I can't make any further comments. The point is, I think in a situation like this, as someone who's also sort of been in not that position exactly, but similar, it's not good to fucking double down on stupid beliefs. You need to understand why people think they're stupid. My instant thought when it comes to someone criticising something I've said or believe is, okay, what is it that I'm missing here? And I try to look into it, and I try to ask as well. That's the other thing. Nothing to be afraid of. Asking for why or even advice, and you figure it out from there. And so you get this problem solved from that, and that's how you deal with these problems. And the same thing with World of Warcraft. I realised I needed to literally get away from the fucking game. It was too bad for me. Created toxic mindsets, created FOMO and anxiety, which led to the meltdowns. And again, a lot of the bans I deserved, including the ones that I tried to evade as well. It was another game where I evaded. It's not a game actually, it's Reddit, but the problem with Reddit is it was more of a accidental thing, where I couldn't perceive a comment the way that I initially perceived it. Yeah, they still pursue me to this day actually about that. It's been over a year since I made my recent account, so maybe I've stopped. But, I only use Reddit as someone who tries to do positive things, and, since I've been doing that, especially more recently, it's been less of an issue for people, it seems, and I haven't had my account banned in a while. But that's the thing, I try to make positive change with that. I'm not ban evading for the sake of it, or for attention even. I'm literally doing it because it's something that, not that I enjoy Reddit, but there are some good points to it. I like exploring the communities and discussions and stuff. That's always been fun. So, yeah, I'm not making a big deal out of it either. And even then, yeah, if it was something I did wrong, I'd have to just admit it, and I'd just say like, I'm extremely sorry for this, and I want to personally apologise for people who've seen that, and specifically it was the Arrow Race community, because that was the place where I was commented, the comment that got me permabanned or whatever. And yeah, I want to do things right, and ironically I've since discovered as well that actually I was technically exploring that when I was in that community. I am on the Arrow Race spectrum anyway, so it's like there's any differences between us. Yeah, as I said, like bad evasions and stuff are not good, and I think you just have to understand where you're wrong. You have to do the right thing here, and not just apologise, but also just listen to what people are saying, listen to feedback and stuff, and stop insulting people as well. That's the other thing. I almost forgot to mention this actually, because the world's been so shit recently. I forget that insulting people is just a fun pastime at certain moments, but we need to understand as well that even then, just insulting people for the sake of it is not going to make you stronger. It's going to make you weaker, actually. I've seen this many times, and especially in the political spectrum as it currently is, in like the far right pipeline. You tend to be more stupid when your entire gimmick is to find the best insult for people. And, you know, that's problematic because that is not causing, rather creating progress. It's causing harm. And the harm then leads to inequality. Inequality leads to collapse. And that's where we start to see, obviously, the Trumpisms and stuff. And that becomes an issue. And it's the exact same route that it sort of led me on quite a few years ago. Mainly before I was on World of Warcraft, but I was close to it. I was getting on the far right pipeline and I was thinking, oh, those trans women in the bathrooms, they're obviously men. I was saying shit like that. And, you know, obviously I deeply regret having said that before. And that's because I didn't know. I didn't realise that trans women obviously transition to obviously beat their gender dysphoria and obviously just dress the way they feel the most comfortable. So education also is an important point, but you also just need to treat everyone with humanity and respect. This is the other part of it. That humanity and respect will go a long way. It will give you back exactly what you need from it. It's important. I was trying to think what the other thing is. Like, there's more creative things to do than insult people. So rather than say, Mr. Happy is retarded, say, okay, Mr. Happy, I just don't agree with you on this. I think your way of content is maybe not good, maybe not good enough. It depends on what it is, what the criticism is. And the same way with the voice actors. Instead of saying the voice acting is bad and they're retarded for it, say, I think your voice acting could be a little better this way. Like, you could, obviously, if you know voice acting, you should if you're criticising it. Otherwise, fuck off. But you should be emphasising some things like being a bit more like from the throat or from the chest. Like, it depends on what it is, what you're doing. And also, another thing to teach voice actors as well, which I think is also important, is direction. Because every voice actor, I think, has a director in them. I could be mistaken. But I think you also have the opportunity to create something special. You create something different. So if you're asked to, like, cry in the voice acting scene, you actually could find a way to literally cry. So, you know, it's one of those things. It's just, you literally need to be constructive on these criticisms. It's the same way I've been constructive on my criticisms of Final Fantasy XIV, despite how angry I am at HYP for being a PP. And it's I've just got very big criticisms of the game itself, even though I fucking love it. It's just got areas where I can't stand it. It literally is one of those things. So constructive criticism always beats insults. And that's just a fact. You know, who managed to change anything after being called retarded? Literally who? Name someone who changed after being called that. I await your response. So with that said, let's move on to the next topic. Oh, bad news, everyone. I have cellulitis, I think. I say I think because the doctor is not even sure either. So I mentioned the weird issue on my leg, which was red. It was spreading over, well, the side of it hasn't really spread since, which is good. So I don't think it has. No. So it's the same areas as it was before. No idea where this come from. Warm to the touch. Hurts to stand on. Fine to walk with. Sometimes. It's very strange in that sense. But you know, it's one of the worst fucking looking things I've ever had on my body. And this is speaking of someone with literal cuts on my body. Like, I've had a cut on my finger for well over 10 years where I injured myself cutting potatoes. Interesting story. But I'm not going into that. Just an idiot part of me. And it just made me realise as well, it's probably a good lesson as well. Just do not risk things in the kitchen. Never risk it. It's not worth it. Mandolin, fuck off. Protection gear, right, I'm there. So, I have cellulitis in my leg, it seems, and I don't know what the cause is. Weird thing is, I had symptoms before this, which meant that I really struggled, and it just doesn't really make sense. I don't know how I got it. So, the treatment for cellulitis is, according to the NHS, unfortunately, so it's antibiotics. So yeah, I've got that. But knowing they have to space it out and have so much of it, it's really fucking annoying. I don't know, like, if this is good or bad. It's hard to say. But the amount I need to have is kind of insane. So I'm not exactly a fan of it. But I wouldn't have even noticed if I had it beforehand with cellulitis, because I had the symptoms saying about 999. Saying if I have a very high temperature, you feel hot, cold, or shivery, which I was, fast heartbeat or fast breathing, which was fast heartbeat, purple patches on your skin, there's maybe less obvious black or brown skin, I didn't notice that, feeling dizzy or faint, yes, confusion, disorientation, yes, cold, clammy, pale skin, nope, and unresponsive or loss of consciousness, barely. So, supposedly with these symptoms of flu-like, well, I wouldn't have even known my leg was at risk. I had the emergency version of cellulitis, it seems. But, you know, this didn't even clock with the GP, which is also insane. As I mentioned, I had the symptoms here and it wasn't even brought up. So I'm not sure what happened there exactly. I wouldn't have wanted to go to A&E because the last experience I had was shit. And they basically told me to fuck off and kill yourself, in translation. Which is great, because I was feeling suicidal at the time. But yeah, things you could do with help with cellulitis, painkillers, nope. Actually, I'm watching a thing about that at the moment. The UK's hitting painkiller addiction by ITV News, but I don't know how accurate this is, to be honest. As some people point out in the comments, it's like people have chronic pain, and that's leading to painkiller problems, obviously, taking it. And you know, every single woman I know over their 30s and 40s is taking it. So, you know, if it is really an addiction, then the problem is obviously underlying. You know, it can't really be an addiction when there's a spider up there. Motherfucker. Yeah, I have to kill all those fuckers now. Can't be risking anything. So, you know, it just goes to show that our healthcare system is not as good as it can be. It's actually failing us, and this is why. People have to self-diagnose, and this is what I did as well with this issue. I thought, okay, flu symptoms, I've obviously caught something. Couldn't be anything else. So I did that. And then after that, I obviously realised I woke up with a weird leg. And I thought nothing of it, just saw 2 sore spots and didn't really think about it. Just left it as is and used it a bit. And then, I woke up the day after with worse red skin and more soreness. And even then, it's now today, and I still have it, and it's worse than ever. It's just bizarre. So, that's another thing, I guess. Thanks, healthcare system, for detecting that. But I knew it was cellulitis because it didn't look like any other thing. And in fact, the symptoms are most like that, based on what you see of the images. If you look it up, cellulitis, I don't even know how you get it. So, why is it showing up this? I just wanted to look at this, not a fucking thingy search for it. This NHS thing. Yeah, okay. Cellulitis. Yep, literally looks like the same thing. But it's common in children, apparently. But I don't even recall that sort of thing, and there's a guy here, same sort of legs as mine. The same area. That's the crazy thing. It's like almost the exact same from familydoctor.org. So yeah, again, I'm diving into this. I'll look at it now. Treatment, obviously, antibiotics fully recovered in 7 to 10 days. Hopefully, it's sooner. Because annoyingly, the antibiotics, which I have to spread out 4 times a day, 2 of them, again, really annoying. Hang on, 28. Is it even the right amount? So, I've got to calculate this. 28 times 3, then divide that by 10, you get 8. Okay, so they've given me more than I need, which is wait. No, that is the right amount. I made it, of course, divided by 2 now. Yeah. So I've got enough, which is good. That's a good sign anyway. At least there's a GP that actually understands quantities. Although the problem is, it's not actually low dose compared to what it's saying. Like, what are the antibiotic doses? Because for some reason I got given the most amount. I don't know if that's right. It's the max dosage then. Max, can I search please? Immediate maximum of 2 grams. So, no, I'm not actually at max, which is interesting. It's actually 1 gram I'm at. If I've understood grams correctly. What's 500 mg 2 grams? 0.5, okay, yeah, I'm 1 gram then, okay. So, almost max dose, which is good I suppose. It's not overboard, but it is somewhat high. And also I need to take into account, because this was mentioned, for once, the first time ever it's been mentioned, I'm on adalimumab, which is a sort of injection thing for my immune system for obviously ulcerative colitis and Crohn's or whatever one it is, because for some reason they're not the same thing, but I got given both diagnoses. It's very weird. I've got it on letter as well, so I don't know what the deal with that is. Yeah, can taste the antibiotics now. Yeah, it's going up. It's doing its work now. Might be a good sign actually, if I can actually taste that, because I remember when I used to take what was it, CBD oil, and I used to taste the fucking cannabis, and that is fucking nuts. Jesus Christ. It was horrible. Didn't like it. Anyway, things you could do to yes. So to reduce chances of getting it again, keeping skin clean and well moistured. It is? Like, what the fuck? Literally the day I got it, I was having a bath, and I don't know what the deal with that is, unless something to do with my Crohn's is interrupting it, or something I've touched somewhere is interrupting it. I don't know. So it's impossible to know. Cleaning any cuts or wounds with and using antiseptic cream actually is a good point. Do I? Anti-itching cream, but it's not antiseptic, is it? Helps reduce itchy, scaly, dry skin, promotes healthy, hydrated skin. So is hydrating cream but anti-itch? I don't know. Well, I could try applying it, but I don't know. Is it worth putting on now? I don't know. Help speed up your recovery by reduce chances of it, because not really. Preventing cut scrapes and wearing appropriate clothing and footwear. This is weird actually, because I have cuts and scrapes on my leg, both of them actually. Somehow managed to do them both, but almost in the same area. It's just nuts. Probably something wrong with my furniture. But there aren't any. Nowhere near the site. So I have no idea what that is. Unless one of the insects decided to, butt fuck my rather dry hole on my leg. I don't know. Wearing gloves will work if working outside. No. Complications, infection can spread to other parts of the body, such as blood, muscles, and bones. Yeah, that's bad. As you get sauces, usually caused by bacterial infection. Bacteria can infect deep layers of your skin if it's broken, for example, because of an insect bite or a cut, or if it's cracked and dry. I Thing is, I had a somewhat cold bath anyway when I was on the day I had that, and then the day long before that, I don't think I was dry or cracked. But even then, it's just happened after a heat wave, so I'm not 100% sure. It's hard to say. Sometimes the break in the skin is too small to notice. Yeah, no shit. I couldn't see it. Nobody could. GP couldn't. You cannot catch slices. Not relevant, cannot catch it. You are at risk if you have poor circulation. Yes, I do. Because you're overweight. Yes, I am. Find it difficult to move around. No, I'm not. Have a weakened immune system. For example, with chemotherapy treatment or diabetes. That's a weird thing with adalimumab. I don't feel that. I don't have issues with my immune system. In fact, I'm as healthy as other people I know. So when other people I know get ill, they're like bedridden for days, and when I get the same illness, I'm like, can't do anything today, and then a few hours I'm like, oh, I'm cured. It's really weird. I don't experience the same thing. I've literally had COVID several times since starting this treatment, I think, anyway, and hasn't really had any effect other than breathing, but I think that's air pollution, possibly. I don't know, it's weird. Have lymphomedia, which causes fluid build-up onto the skin. Nope. I don't. Unless that's the spot stuff, let me look at that. Because I do have spots that appear over my body, like white stuff. Okay, thanks NHS. Why aren't you showing images of this? Lymphomedia spots. Let's see, is there any? That looks like dry skin. Oh, that. Okay. Well, mine's not that bad, but I do have something like that every now and then. So it's possible that could be it. I don't know. It's hard to say, again, it's in a specific area. So this is still how you get cellulitis, but inject drugs. Last adalimumab was actually yesterday, and that was after I found this. So no, a wound from surgery or had cellulitis before? Nope. So yeah, like nothing here really indicates I've got it from somewhere, which is really annoying. It could have been worse. It could have been somewhere else, like my head, my eye, as this poor kid has. Just actually sad. Fuck. This is the thing. This is why I don't believe in God. You just can't. Otherwise, God has to answer to everyone who suffered and obviously seen the trauma. That's generally how I view religion at the moment, anyway. Apparently, that was everything I was mentioning. Apparently, these antibiotics will fuck up my digestive system, which is yikes, because I don't know how I'm going to deal with going out, if at all possible, which is really annoying. So I'm planning to do something next week, so I don't know. Though I said that, like a few days after, I am actually, I don't know, like, I'm supposed to stop. I'm taking this for 10 days, supposedly. I don't know, it's all sorts of fucked up. Apparently I need to take prebiotics, or probiotics actually, after that. So I need some advice on that. I'm going to ask relevant people. But yeah, that's an update on my leg. So far I'm not being amputated, but I don't think it's out of the question. Like, what can even happen? Like, what's the worst that can happen with cellulitis? I imagine it's still keep it actually. But you know, it's just probably going to be hard to use. Like, I don't know. Again, the health line is mentioning the symptoms I had beforehand. So it's weird. There's more things here that say that it can cause it. Gangrene. There's another name for tissue death. Necrotizing fasciitis. That's cool. Flesh-eating disease. Oh, that's not cool. Infection deepest layer of the skin can spread to your fascia, surrounds your muscles, organs, and tissues, and cause tissue death. This infection can be fatal. Nice. MRSA cellulitis is often caused by Staphylococcus, a type of bacteria. A more serious type of staph bacteria. I don't know what the fuck this is. Resistant to many of the antibiotics. What the fuck? That is horrible. Habitual cellulitis, infection around that. That's not mine. Perennial stereotypical cellulitis. I don't think I have that. It's about the throat, isn't it? The anus is about the shows of rash around the anus rectum. Wait a minute. Type of infection that occurs in. Oh, wait. Shows up with a rash around the. And spread from the head, throat makes its way to. Huh. That's very weird. I don't know. Because I was not trying to think. Because there are other things that I've had. I've had breathing issues recently. And I've also had weird itchiness in my ass. So I don't know what the fuck that is about. But there's no reports on what happens when it comes to the worst. Yeah, other than these images, it's just people with extreme cellulitis now. That one's even worse. It's like a infected mess. You can see like pus in that. As yeah, not as squeamish as other people. I think people are surprised by that. I think that a lot of these things are just like extremely gross, but actually in reality, I kind of get the idea. I get that I have to be used to this. The same with freak wounds and stuff. It's hard to look at, but I think the more used to it you get, the more exposure, the better. So there's a thing there that looks like a spider bite. It looks like what I have every now and then. I don't know where these things are coming from. I've even reported that I need to get rid of these spiders in my fucking room, and I've been ignored every time. That's why I report it. So I don't know. What are they looking for? Again, I've already got moisturising cream. What the fuck am I doing? Anyway, I ain't got anything else to add, so yeah, that's the news so far. Let's move on. You want to know how you make more money? Yeah, you might find this surprising, but I'm not a telemarketer. I'm not here to sell you anything, just to be clear, and also I'm unbiased. In fact, the way you make more money in the UK as it currently stands is to be smarter with your political choices. That's how. So I don't really have any part or other bias with any sort of party as it currently stands. In fact, I just disassociate from having bias entirely. That's why I can even agree with certain narratives and even things that other parties are saying, which again other people might take issue with, but to me, from evidence, it seems to be there are some things right and some things wrong. So what started getting me thinking about this is the recent episode of Bold Politics by Zach Panatsky, who, to be clear, is the Green Party leader as of the current moment, and I think it's important to highlight that. But the recent guest happens to be someone who I believe wrote a book on wealth inequality and has revealed some very interesting things in this episode alone. So this guy is called Gabriel Zucman, and his insight on this is very interesting. But basically it seems that having a wealth tax would likely increase the well-being of everyone, and I think, as a brief translation of that, it can also mean better laws, better rights in place for everyone affected by billionaires and capitalism as it currently stands. I know it's probably like a no-no word, but trust me, you shouldn't believe everything you see on the media, because sometimes it's the algorithm pitting against you, and that's not always a reliable source of information. You need to have a balanced perspective. So something from both sides, and you also need to understand the workings out. So, for example, you can't say something like climate change isn't real, because when you actually look at the evidence, for example, the average temperatures and the spans of time of it, and just various other things, other factors. Again, I'm not a climate scientist. You see that experts universally agree that the climate is changing and temperatures are rising, and it's something that needs to be addressed very soon before we'll see head to the brink of collapse and sixth mass extinction. So, in line with that, it leads you to think about what we can do to help ourselves financially, given everyone is struggling to pay for food and bills and even just living in a house. So the solution that I found in as much research as I could do in this area is mainly through political or podcasts like this, but also other unbiased sources. So talking like Navarro Media and to an extent even Sky News, even though they're not 100% unbiased, but it's still better than nothing. But I get these from those specific sources, and even a source like Gary's Economics, who can tell you from an economist's point of view, who definitely has more bearing than someone who isn't an economist. The best way to get more money in the UK is through the right politics, and the right politics happens to be the left, which happens to be either the Green Party or, as far as I'm aware, Liberal Democrats, but I'm not 100% sure if they have a policy on wealth tax. So that's the important thing. Basically, you need a policy that prioritises not just the economy, but also social justice. I know what people might be thinking, like, what do you mean social justice? Like, what the fuck? How do you mean it? Because I just hear that social justice is just a woke thing. And you may be correct in that. The problem is, you have to find a problem with it. So just saying that it's social justice, or social justice warriors, if it's one of the terms, doesn't reveal anything. Doesn't reveal a flaw in their position. Doesn't really do anything either. So you need hard found evidence to prove this fact. So that's where we're at with this. So that also means with social justice we can see an improvement in well-being and rights for everyone, not just the people who are in minorities, which do matter by the way, and also it's worth looking at the data on populations of minorities and mental health on minorities, because that also reveals and plays a lot of roles in politics, believe it or not. For example, the UK is made up of a majority of white people, which happens to be, according to a 2021 data collection, is about 84% of the population. And that's not even including people who are not white British, so they could be white Asian, it could be white Indian even, like, you never know. So it's very possible that we have a majority of white people in the UK, so when you see something like Reform losing their, or rather having a tantrum over the fact that there's for some reason a White Lives Matter issue, that's just not true. It hasn't really been found. So, this just doesn't work as it currently stands. And the white people are not in the minority, let alone being targeted. In fact, if you see racially motivated crimes as a statistic, which you should be doing for this, not a political leader's words, you'll easily find that white people are in a majority in being treated fairly, and then black people, or someone of another race or country or ethnicity, is absolutely being condemned by racists. So basically they're more at risk of racism than anyone else, especially racist crimes, racially motivated crimes. So yeah, this literally isn't a case where I'm just trying to sell you something. It's literally trying to see things through into the future. Where it currently stands, and I'm someone who would benefit from having more money in my life to support my autism, to support my current habits and stuff. Good habits, just because like hobbies and other interests. But this is what I mean. If you want to improve the quality of life, you have to take it from someone else who currently doesn't deserve the quality of life they have, which unfortunately has to be billionaires. And that's what the wealth tax is. So, yeah, don't really know where else to add here. But this is kind of the whole gimmick of this, whole gist of it. And that's how you make more money in the UK. But if you choose not to do that, all the things that have an effect on everything else, again, social justice comes with slightly economic justice and climate justice as well. Things cost less money. We've seen even in climate, for example, the bills are lower because with things like solar panels and renewable energy just in general, it ends up being far more positive for the entire world. And it means that there are lower bills because nobody has to pay for fossil fuels. So yeah, don't really know what else to add here, but that's essentially it. So let's move on. Well, I only just heard of this, but Quantic Dream had a game that wasn't bloody, whatever you call it. I don't know actually what you call it, not a visual novel, but something. There's definitely like choices in it, and the only game that I recognise by them is Detroit Become a Human, and just barely remember Heavy Rain, but only because of the memes. But they made a game recently called Spellcasters Chronicles, which I only found through Yongye, who found out through Quantic Dream, I think it's sometime earlier. They had a live service game. Yikes. And I wonder what the video here is like, if they even still have it. There's 1 minute, 33 seconds, I'll react to it now. 7 seconds in. Okay. Sort of looks a bit, oh no, Aztec, is that? Yeah. This just looks very generic, though. The problem here is that... Also, why is the pause button in the way? That's stupid. The characters look so fucking generic as well. So I could have sworn there was a game like this already coming out anyway. Being able to burn a forest is cool, but I guess this is like a... This looks like a MOBA actually, paired with a hero shooter or something. Which is actually kind of a cool concept, but obviously you have to execute it quite well. But again, all the designs here are so generic. Like, everything here just looks so similar, except for that guy there. I don't know if that's like one of the things you could summon. Yeah, it just looks so samey, the same art style, cell shading, whatever you call that style. I'm not talking about the outline version, it's more proper cell shading, the ones that actually are cell shading. And the characters just look samey. There's nothing really distinct about them. They look like a mix between League of Legends and World of Warcraft characters, I suppose. So nothing new there. Just, yeah, it surprised me that it's failed and wasn't recognised either. I'm not sure how much they invested in it though, having said that. But as always, it's disappointing that they seem to think that they can do games like this and make a profit. Although it's not disappointing, it's funny actually in most cases. But it's Quantic Dream, who have made decent games anyway, from what I understand. And it's a bit surprising. So I don't really know what exactly is going on with that. It's very weird. Something I can't find on Steam. I know they are removing it from the store, but where the hell even is that? Also, I have one of their games in my library, Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy. Okay. Very strange. story rich and quick time events, yeah, it's probably the genre. Yeah, it's so fucking weird. And it looks like they're going for a model where they release games regularly. I don't know what Dustborn is. This Vanja? Never heard of it. Under the Waves, never heard of it. Beyond Two Souls, I think I've heard Beyond before. I'm not sure what that is. It's so weird though. Like yeah, also it's like frustrating, and I don't know where the Steam one is. Spellcasters Chronicles. Maybe I'll come up do this. Steam. Because there's like a bunch of reviews on it. Steam community, store page, for some reason it's hidden. It's like mixed reviews, 826 people reviewed it. That's crazy. Another FFP game is going down, it's early access. Moved mode 2066. Or anything in the shop refund, right 2 times and 3 times to Steam, just plain fraud. Yeah, true. If you can't use it, you can't play with it, can't you? Okay, for the Concord timeline was shut down. Someone saying your time has come with a ASCII of the Green Reaper, ASCII art. Someone with an actual review, finally. Bros, beautiful art direction, appealing characters, the gameplay is fun, and you get to play again, chaotic fun, deck system in the playstyle, poor performance, cons. Some reasons not paragraphs, cons, poor performance, and multiple crashes, takes time, poor optimization, layout frame drops off to them too often, especially at the end of the game. Opinion game has a lot of potential, however many of my friends can't play it due to performance. I personally had a lot of fun. Hope the performance gets fixed so other players can give it a shot. I really want this to be successful. As the current game state, I cannot recommend it. I'll wait for it to be fixed. Okay, that's a bit weird. Strange spelling error to make, or grammar, whatever. Telling my gaming club at university to give it a shot. Yeah. I suppose you can't tell them that. This review is only temporary, and I'll tell you once the game gets better. 1.8 hours on record. There's someone with 131 hours, but not for free. As a gold PC by the looks of it. Yeah, surprisingly some people actually like it. But for free though, again I don't know where this is from. Don't know who's giving it for free. It's just a bit strange in that sense. This was an early access game or what? Wait, so it never even released, did it? This is like on page or something? I find it strange, but also is there something damning like AI? Nope, can't see anything. But, as I said, this is the thing, there's multiple issues here. The first thing is, it looks the same as every other fucking game. This looks like Marble Rivals, it looks like Overwatch, it looks like League of Legends, it looks like World of Warcraft in some ways, and even Genshin Impact at a stretch. Like, not the anime characters, but the aesthetic of some of the areas, for sure. It's got that sort of cartoony, sort of, I don't know what you call it, not chiseled style. It's like very specific and yeah, it's just very weird. So that's already a bad thing going for it, and this is probably why it's not recognisable. Because everything just looks the same, it has the same art style, and whilst it may be easier to do, it's not worth the trade-off in my opinion, because that would be a big criticism used against you. So it's generally not worth it for that alone. This is my best guess as to why it failed. Again, the characters look so samey, and the enemies, to their credit, look different, but that's not really good enough, I don't think. Yeah, I just don't see how this could have ever taken off, actually. Just from that perspective alone, and even though the gameplay looks different, I have to admit that. It's just frustrating. But also, the other big thing with this is the fact it's a live service. So already in the Steam page it's saying relevant to games you have rather Dota 2 and Overwatch 2. I call it Overwatch 2 still because they still got the stain of that on it, of all the changes they made and never reversed, and then added more shit to it that didn't need to be added and kept FOMO. So it's still Overwatch 2 in my opinion. But basically it's the same thing. It's the same as maybe other MOBAs out there, so Heroes of the Storm, League of Legends. Deadlock if we go that far, assuming people are playing that. I don't know if they are. I saw that game, I think it was out, but not many people are playing it. Let me look it up, Deadlock. It's not to be announced, okay. So it's like beta tests, I'm guessing. I'm guessing it's not going to do well though, because I don't see too many people playing that, to be honest. Also, I started liking this. Like, I'm curious, what fucking characters? And look at the character portraits. I guess parts of it different but samey in other areas. And this guy that looks like fucking. Oh, it's that character in Dispatch. Punch Up, that's it. This looks like Punch Up. Like, exactly the same. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Again, characters look too samey eventually, and it's just hard to recognise. And this is the thing, you don't create them with distinctive taste or anything. I think one of the things that made Dota popular, I could be wrong about this, is the fact that it's based on World of Warcraft, and then every character is basically around that sort of thing, I reckon anyway. So it's just extremely frustrating to see that. Also, it's never recommending me fucking live services, which is annoying. God. Yes, again, just another generic live service, and Deadlock as well. I'm gonna have to guess might fail almost immediately. I don't know if people are actually gonna like it. And even with the people who are like very like Valve fanboy in that sense, because I'm not really. I just appreciate that they can do things properly. It's different. But a lot of people will probably be like that, and it's just real shitty. But this is why live services start to suck. It's because it's kind of samey, it's the same thing as a competitive nature. That's the other thing, they always compete for an esport. Like, fuck, it reminds me of when Tetris 99 came out, and that was actually somewhat fun to watch because it was a battle royale, but fucking Tetris. And that's what made it unique. You know, it's so different, and it's just one of those things you remember moments like that because they're all kind of iconic. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and then I think people really need to head more towards games that are, I guess, more casual rather than competitive. There's even one here called Marathon, which, as far as I know, it didn't do well. But it's saying otherwise on other places. I was saying like they didn't meet the mark or something. It's an extraction shooter, that makes sense. That's why it's so reviewed. What was this crap? I wasn't a fan of art creators when I watched the gameplay of that. It didn't seem like my sort of thing at all. I just hated the fact he used AI as well, which is really annoying. Because there's way too many extraction shooters. The only one that actually ever interested me was that Escape from Tarkov sort of, not clone, but a parody. Can't remember what it was. That was sort of something. Yeah, I don't know, I'm just very unsure about live services and the state of it. It's just not worth doing these days. There's no fucking point. It's literal, not just career suicide, but game suicide as well. It's the exact sort of shit that Stop Killing Games is fighting against, I think, anyway. It's a live service always online, and you know, because these games disappear, because some people might enjoy them, what are you supposed to do? As far as I know, the only thing people can do is re-upload the game files, have it literally pirated, and then people will adapt to it. I remember that thing with, was it Concord? I can't remember what game it was, but they're making a offline version, like a fan-made thing. And then I think Sony sent like a cease and desist or something to them, something stupid, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You didn't want to preserve the game, and now you're saying you can't preserve it if you're a fan. It's just fucking nuts. Like, Jesus Christ. I just can't wrap my head around it, but anyway. That's enough on live services, so let's move on. It's all dead. Frieren, Season 2. So obviously I'm not a manga reader, it's pretty obvious by now. If you didn't know, then now you know. Drill it into your skull. But obviously I've gotten up to date with it and finished season 2. And you know what? It's good. I'd say it's probably not as good as the first season, but that's just like a me thing, probably. Me problem. I just don't find it as interesting as the first one was, the first season, obviously. I think that's because in this one they take more of a adventurous approach rather than sort of world building, story building. Although there is parts of that in this scattered throughout, sort of a similar style to the last. I don't know. To me, it didn't really just give me many good vibes in some ways, but also has some great moments and also some great fan service as well. They seem to know what to do with characters, like head pats and stuff. You know, the equals eyes, as I call them, with Frieren. Yeah, like, it's just more of the same, to be honest. It really isn't that big of a deal in terms of what a series can do, but it's still enjoyable. I think the first thing I noticed immediately was the animation and background art, just insanely good. I don't know if they've stepped it up from the last, but it genuinely is surprising. Definitely wasn't expecting that. But also we get some more demon lore, which I don't recall from the last one. I could be wrong. Or the first season, rather. Well, I don't know if I should spoil this, but it gives you some interesting insight either way, which I thought was great because not many times do series even do that. Sometimes it feels like the enemy is like a big throwaway sort of thing, an excuse for, you know, just the violence and stuff. Speaking of which, there is a fair amount of action with some great moments in it. I'd say they're as good as the first one based on memory, but there's still some, so it still sort of works out in the end. And does it wrap up some storylines? I don't know. But either way, the group are making progress. That's obviously something you can report that isn't very spoilery, because it's kind of what you expect, right? You know, if it didn't have that, what the fuck is the point? Anyway, aside from animation and background art, I think the music is decent, somewhat more noticeable this time. I noticed it a bit more. I think that's maybe because it's louder. I could be wrong. And similarly, voice acting is still good. There's not really too much going on because it takes more of a gentle approach to voice acting, from what I could tell. There isn't really anything too jumpy in terms of voice acting. There's not really anything jumpy to do anyway. That's just the way I would describe it, because a lot of the voice acting I hear is usually that sort of thing. It just jumps out at you. Moments like that, but here it's like calm. Just sort of the gimmick of Frieren anyway. It's just one of those sort of comfort animes, I suppose. It was kind of funny when I heard most critics were actually becoming a big fan of this. It's like, okay, it's not really not unexpected, but I know he's an anime watcher. It's just, I would have thought this was this sort of thing. I don't know. I just got the impression of that. What do I take him for? I don't know what I take him for. Goober. Something. Yeah, but obviously the story is decent. I just think it's one of those things. It's anime for sure. It's enjoyable. And what is this? Spike's Family? Season 3? Hang on. Do I even have that on my list? Because I've been waiting for that for so long. Spike's Family Season 3? Holy shit. Okay, I know what to watch next. I think. Unless it's just the things I've seen before. Which would be annoying. So I'm pretty sure I've seen all the episodes so far. Just look at what to watch next. Let me check the release dates actually, that'll give me a good insight. 2023, Season 2. Season 3 then? 2025, last year. So no, I haven't been up to date on this, which is good. Finally watched this. Is that dub? Yes, there is. Yep, just planning again. What's next? I do need to go through the rest of my thing, except for some parts. I swear I did go through the animes on here, but apparently not. That was something to do. Crunchyroll for Vigilantes Pyro Hero Academia Season 3. And Egghead I'm done, so it's like, oh, wait till the end. Wait till end and top. Simpsons, that's not on there. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, oh yeah, that, I don't know when that is actually. Frieren Season 3, some reason I've already updated that. Spike's Family, Season 4. Yep, anyway, I do recommend Frieren, obviously, Season 2. I still think it's worth a watch if you're a fan of Frieren anyway. But also, this series actually started to do something special for me, which was, it made me realise what Frieren's purpose actually was. Which is insane. If you actually really think about it, really think about her character, you start to realise why she does the things she does, and it makes sense. Because, yeah, I think if I was like her, I'd probably do similar things. But that's kind of what I realise is clever. It actually portrayed that narrative without actually telling you straight up. It just doesn't exactly assume you're dumb right away. Which, I don't know, is not usually a good criticism to have. But I think that's just because it's more accessible when it is explained, and that's not a problem in my opinion. So I think that's generally a neutral thing. So yeah, it's just more of the same. So let's move on to the next topic, I think. Oh, I just watched, I've finished actually, the Pokemon Scarlet Violet Nintendo US? What? Nintendo OST soundtrack. Because, you know, sometimes it's really hard to find a soundtrack, and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for some reason was, but I also somewhat suspect that suspicious surroundings around this game, with it being so underbaked in areas, makes me wonder if they inflated the numbers, so they lied about sales. Because it doesn't really reflect well when people are not really uploading the specific music for the game. There's only like a select few channels out there who've actually done this, from what I can see. And finding the entire soundtrack as well is even more difficult. So not only do you have to find the channels, you have to find the soundtrack itself. And Nintendo OST is the only one I found with the original game soundtrack, although not DLC sadly. But I'll listen to the DLC after from More Melody Plus. I just hope it's not shit sound quality like somehow. Yeah, I think that apparently the playlist is all themes. Oh, okay. There's nothing then. Anyway, the soundtrack. Here's what I thought about it. I thought it was good. It definitely wasn't special, but it had tracks I liked. About the same amount that I liked from Legends of the A, for example. You know, this is like specific tracks. I like the Academy theme, because that's also written by Toby Fox, and you can really tell it's his style. It's really interesting. And you can just really tell when it is him writing it, which is, I guess, great. It's also very interesting that he's made it to Pokemon fame somehow. Like, what the fuck, what a journey to go on. You release a small indie game with some clever gimmicks in it in 2015, and you end up making this in 2023. It's fucking nuts. Jesus, there's some things to go over the head with, like even the fucking Smash Bros thing when they added sounds. I still remember that was a thing. That was just nuts. But anyway, soundtrack. The rest of it is still pretty good. it doesn't come without its complaints. So some tracks have some poor mixing, and also the variants feel almost completely unnecessary. Because it just, as someone who listens and loves soundtracks, I just find it hard to even sort of locate these sort of things. So when there's an alternative version of something, like for example the East Province soundtrack, part of the track, rather, for some reason there's alternative versions, there's like 4 different types, and I'm just sitting here thinking, why? Like, you don't need this unless you're, again, really aiming for something like, I don't know, maybe you have a different theme playing for each thing, which it seems like it was, but I don't know, it didn't seem right because some of them weren't even labelled. It's just alt theme, walking, and I forgot the other one. Oh, it was riding, wasn't it? Although I'm not sure if it counts exactly. Again, I've not played the game, so it's sort of hard to know where these come in. Even then, I just struggle to listen to the soundtrack sometimes. But yeah, it's a bit weird in that sense. Composition-wise, it's decent, for sure. I can't really complain about a lot of the tracks, but there are a fair few that I do have complaints about, surprisingly. Some are just not very well done, in my opinion. Even though I like Penny's theme in a way, it's got good composition, but it's just terrible mixing and terrible instrumentals. Like, I'm no music expert by any means, even though I make music. But to me, it didn't sound right. Something was really off of that. It could be the EQs, it could also be the instruments, but I'm not really a fan of electronics, so it does play a role into it, which is a bit frustrating. There are some great themes out there. Don't know if there's any like motifs. I don't know if that's a thing in this. But there's some interesting tracks for sure. I liked about 31 tracks according to what I've saved here. So that's definitely above average for a playlist of 116 tracks, which is pretty insane. But also some of those tracks are shorts, so technically it's more like 31 of 110, maybe 105. It's not bad, it's not terrible, you know. It's about a third of the soundtrack I liked, which I think is good. But I also felt like some tracks are missing something as well. Like, there's some great tracks out there that were missing that extra punch. Like, I think there was like a cave theme that I liked. The Elite Four theme could have been better, even though I liked it. The Elite Four Room, rather, not the theme. But the Room has an interesting track, but it really needs something else to make it work. But obviously it doesn't have that. It just feels it's a bit lacking. It's just my big criticism of that. But other than that, it's good. What else? I'm trying to think. There wasn't really anything that blew me away, hence the lack of notes. I think what I consider my favourite ones of all time. I think there's some that surprised me, like the Water Gym, Cascara, for whatever that name is. Yeah, the Nimona battle themes and final battle, quite interesting. Making a Sandwich, Terror Raid theme, Academy Ace tournament theme, and Battle Zero Lap. Yeah, there's just some interesting tracks, and there are some here that I even plan on covering. I won't spoil that. If one of them, I don't know, I had the other one. I don't know. But enough, this one of the final tracks actually, Navincia. It's such an interesting track. It sounds like it was made on like a Sega Megaphone or something. A Sega Mega Drive. It's so interesting to me. It was surprising. It sounded so retro, which I didn't expect at all. And it also gave me vibes of just, you know, old Sonic games, like Sonic 3? Yeah, Sonic 3 I'd say, or Sonic Mania, if you want a more relevant example. But that's sort of what it reminded me of maybe Wham. Wait, what if it's written by T. Lopez? What was his name again? I can't remember. T-Lopes, that's it. Fuck's sake. Yeah, that'd be crazy. Uh, but yeah, I think it's a decent soundtrack. It's something possibly worth listening to. I think if you are pretty much a big fan of like soundtracks and stuff, and you like copyright-free music too, it's definitely a thing to go for. At least mostly copyright-free, except for the Nintendo devil looming overhead. Even though you own the game, and then you therefore have the right to do with it what you want, because every gameplay video has music. So what? It's always a bit stupid to me when that happens. Even then, the covers, like, who cares if it's your fucking property? People are allowed to like the music and appreciate it in their own way. I just find it so silly. It's also just big lost opportunities, and even then, like, is it a revenue opportunity? Like, technically, yeah, because of advertising. Anyone who's not really seen the game or heard the game before, they'll probably look into it. Like, this is the thing. I have a story about this. I didn't get into Danganronpa by virtue of it being an anime, or even the gameplay, because gameplay was actually shit. But I got into it through Family Jewels. No, not the sack on a male's genitals, but rather the content creator. Family Jewels, or Jules Conroy, I believe his name is. Could be wrong. But he made a cover of one of the tracks in Danganronpa, which was Beautiful Dead, as a metal cover. And at the time I was listening to a bunch of metal tracks and just random ones I wouldn't even listen to, same with like Fire Emblem, believe it or not, and that's why I listened to some of those. There's too many to go through for Fire Emblem, so I gave up eventually and went for the best tracks. And that's sort of how I found what I wanted. But anyway, with Danganronpa though, that got me into it. I was curious. I was like, what the fuck? I've never heard a track like this before. Especially for like a game that's seemingly an anime. It's just so unheard of and unusual. So I also looked into it, and Danganronpa was the game, and it turns out to be, story-wise, one of the best series there is out there. It's so fucking underrated, especially for like psychological horror and stuff, if you could even consider it that. It's actually insane how well it's done. Both the story, even just some of the gameplay activities actually can be quite interesting. Collecting underwear. Who wouldn't be? You could collect the underwear of guys. Like, hello? It's fucking way ahead of its time. Let me look at it again. Danganronpa underwear don't come up that much. No. Where is it then? Oh, here it is. What do you like it? Kyoto's Byaku's Mondo's, there we go. That's the name I recognise. Mondo's has a funny hairstyle. Neon's, Hifumi's shoes. Hero's adorable. But yeah, like this thing is what also sets it apart. It doesn't take itself too seriously in a way, but also it's like, holy crap. Also, how do you get Junko's underwear? What the fuck? Didn't know you can get them unless I'm missing something. Oh yeah, that's what it was, yeah. I'm trying to think of the story. Yeah, it's hard to recognise, but you know, it's one of these games that's niche. But it was fun. I still had fun despite some of the big problems of it. Big problems of the series and stuff. Holy crap. It was certainly a series. But I found it through a cover. Like, this is the thing I have to put out there, and even then I listen to soundtracks for games. And I want to get into those said games because they interest me. For example, Ys, which is a Falcon game. It has me interested because I want to see what the game's about. Why this has such great music as well. I listen to Ys 1 and 2 Chronicles, and you know, probably hooked, but also listen to the super arrangements and the covers and stuff, like collected his music. I can't remember what it's called. It's got a weird name. Collected Music of Modern and Ancient Times, that's it. But you just hear some absolute bangers from these, and it makes you wonder what the games are about, and makes you want to look into them a bit more. And even then, you've also got like the Trails in the Sky series, and that has me interested as well. I've actually seen someone play it a bit, and it does look quite interesting from the recent game, obviously. So, you know, it draws people in. It is free advertisement, regardless of whether they profit off it. You also benefit from it as a corporation. So, why are you even doing this? It genuinely makes no sense, and so I still want to see justice for a content creator who had her channel essentially removed by Nintendo because she uploaded too many Nintendo music compilations rather, but like lo-fi versions, I think. And there's a playlist that she had as well, rather than, I think there are other videos actually, but playlists too. And she basically got a takedown notice for this. Content creator was Shadow at Noon, and she uploaded all this, and yeah, just such a load of bullshit. Like, why is that even fucking happening? You know, I think that deserves like countersuing in my opinion, because that's like literally breaching, you know, like what do you even call it? Like it's performative, it's art, it's something, and you know, it's like suing artists for using your style of roof tile, and that's just fucking ridiculous. Like what the fuck? You know, I even take lots of inspiration from architecture from other countries when I make artwork. Like I like Greece and a lot of the architecture there, with mainly those coastal and island buildings like Santorini. And what's the other one? I can't remember. No, it's not coming to me, but there are other islands, and I just love those places. They have such interesting architecture, and it looks so fucking calm as well. It's kind of insane, even though it's like a tourist honeypot essentially, it's still really good, and I take inspiration from that. But it's like, if they suddenly decide you can't do that in artwork, like what? It's just insane. Because every piece of art is sort of the same thing. Music is not all that different from physical artwork, like digital artwork, you know, visual. But same way with voice acting, I suppose. Yeah, there's not really much difference in that. It's like a style you develop, a skill you can obviously hone in on. So yeah, again, the removal of this shit doesn't make sense. But anyway, I've spoken enough about that. So let's move on. I forgot to add on to it, but the soundtrack also has a big flaw that I think, I don't know if it is a flaw or not, but maybe it's a taste thing. But they keep reusing old tracks, or rather old tracks, old compositions. So the thing is stemming from Gen 1, I believe, still in the anime. I could be wrong on that. I don't know, but it feels like they've just reused a lot of things, and it does feel a bit lazy to me. Again, probably a preference sort of thing, and I hear it and I think, okay, but I've heard this before. Well, this isn't anything new, and just don't find it very interesting. I'm not expecting everything to be a compositional masterpiece, but when it comes to the fact they are essentially battle themes and stuff, and even then, like gyms and whatever, I don't know why they're still reusing that. And weirdly enough, as I'm only 6 tracks into Pokemon Scarlet Violet Indigo Disc, there are already apparently a lot of references to the black and white soundtrack, which is interesting, but I'm also like, why? It's a bit strange to me, in my opinion. But also, is it like foreshadowing? Like, could we be getting a Gen 5 remake finally? Because I'm sort of waiting for that. Even though we do need a Gen 2 remake, it seems to be the Forgotten Child, I think, for some reason. You know, even then we're supposed to be able to get a Gen 3 remake after that, I think. Or do one of them. And then obviously we just go back through the loops, I suppose, although we don't really need that many, which I do find kind of silly, but in a way it is a good way to get people to try the other game. So, you know, if you grew up on Gen 4, for example, and you only got Diamond, you could obviously next time go for PAL. You know, or what's the other one? Perfect PAL? Brilliant Diamonds, BDSP, Shining PAL, that's it. Yeah, you could go for that next time. So you do have like the older Pokemon, obviously, and you've explored one of them, but you can explore the other, even though I don't know if there's any differences between the wild Pokemon. I still think it's a reasonable excuse to even try the other game. You know, I don't really like that system, obviously, with two separate games. It does feel a bit dumb to me, and I think there should be ways to obviously get it, and there are more creative ways, by the way, that you should be able to get the other Pokemon, so the other legendaries, the other whatever. Like, genuinely, the systems they have just shit. It's been one of my long-time criticisms of Pokemon. The same with actually catch rates. I've never really liked catch rates. I just find the entire thing a bit stupid and unbalanced at times. You know, Abra, for example, was like one of the hardest Pokemon to catch, and also not even the most useful Pokemon. That's the crazy thing. How does such a pointless Pokemon, sad to say, have such a low catch rate? It makes no sense. It's one of those things, I just look at it and think, God, why? Yeah. Don't know what else to add, but that's about it for the soundtrack so far. It's an interesting post that I think deserves responding to, but I don't exactly agree with it. But also I can't respond to it, because it's comments disabled or something. So there's a post by A Fiend Made Flesh, which are... I don't know who that is, but they say, hot take, everyone should have to retake their driver's license exam, written and practical, every 10 years. The dumbassery on the road needs to be curtailed somehow. The problem with this is people will cheat the system eventually and actually just go ahead and break the rules and break every sort of theory that there is. So I don't see this working exactly the way that this user expects it to work. I do see so many issues that are probably going to happen as a result of this, and that's just not good. It's pretty insane to even suggest this sort of thing, not just because of that, but also because of the current economy that we're in now, where in order to do a fucking driver's license exam, you probably have to not be in work to do it. And even then, how do people who are working, how are they going to get these exams done anyway? When there's limited time, when they probably have families, and then what happens? Like, you can't. Just logically speaking, and I'm someone who doesn't even drive, for the record. Like, how are you supposed to address this issue? And the reality is, I don't think you exactly can. So, I think what we instead need is a system where we start to investigate bad drivers, and these are drivers with like countless reports from dash cams and scans, basically being I get distracted by a cyberpunk game by Secret Product Red. That's anime. Anyway, no, literally, there just needs to be a way around it so you can use dash cam footage or, you know, codes. You know, what are they called? License plates. Yeah, to basically report someone and track them, so that when they get free warnings for a certain thing, maybe it's speeding, maybe it's actually like, what else would they do? Like, I don't know, overtaking extremely fast, going over the speed limit, whatever it is. But there should be a way to report it and obviously provide the footage, provide the evidence for it, if possible. And I think that honestly is extremely useful, and it can also take people off the road who do not deserve to fucking drive. And also, I heard recently, this is the other thing I remembered, Pyrian Flax on Triforce podcast and famous for gaming and Dota. He apparently got a point on his license, I think, for supposedly speeding. I don't know how that even happened. It's very questionable, its surroundings and stuff. But apparently you have to take a sort of Zoom course or something where you look at a lot of the theory around it anyway. But I don't think this will even do anything either. I think the point is people need to understand that when they misuse their authority on this, they literally become the issue and have to either address it now or risk losing their ability to drive permanently. And I think obviously it requires further investigation. But I think that's a risk that unfortunately needs to be taken, even with people who are just accidentally bad, or in my case, neurodivergent. You can just suck as a result of being ADHD and struggle to drive. But the reality is you shouldn't be driving. If you are a danger on the road, you are a danger on the road. That's just the way it works. So that's the sad reality. Even though I'd like a place where that could be a thing, maybe even a way for cars to just warn you about the speed limit, like actually auto scan the speed limit and tell you or apply it to your car. Not super futuristic, but we have signs for a reason. They're like that for a reason. Like they're red, they're luminescent. That's not the thing though, is it? Basically shine the light on it, it brights up really brightly. Lights up, whatever the fuck you call it. But I don't see this hot take supposedly doing anything beneficial. As one of the comments mentions as well, someone saying the same thing apparently, but for old people. I think this is also important. I think that elderly people, they do need to be sort of examined in that sense when they're driving to see whether they're actually capable of doing so or not. I think some think that they're not capable of driving, but others do, and they delude themselves into thinking it. So it's a bit complicated in that sense. When it comes to that, I just think something needs to be done about the elderly drivers who are being a danger on the road. It's not like they're speeding, to be fair, which is obviously much better than young people, but sometimes the driving is very questionable. I remember once actually, I went to the doctors. We were fortunate enough to have like a good parking space in that place. There seems to be a lot of them, but we're going in there and essentially going out to the car. I think, were we leaving in the car or not? I think we were actually, because I think we had to manoeuvre, but there's someone in a fucking car trying to park in there, not really parking though. And there's two guys out there confronting this old lady. I couldn't have said like under 70, she couldn't have been that. Driving this fucking car, not able to park it, going to the doctors and the men just saying, "Ma'am, you need to park your car, but why are you driving? You're obviously not capable of doing it." It's like, fuck's sake. It's so dumb. And driving was also really dodgy. I saw her like going forward and back, I think. Not really turning either. So it's extremely concerning. So yeah, it just goes to show that a lot of this shit is just people on the road are just risky. Generally, even if they're just slow. I think the slowness is less annoying than the people who actively break laws and create big issues for the road. I'd argue people who hit animals are worse. People who, what's the other thing I was thinking of? Maybe loud music, they're bad people as well. Now in engines as well, purposely done. That's an important distinction. Obviously terrible. You know, obviously if I was in power, I'd start looking at noise and air pollution issues with vehicles, but also safety. So I wouldn't want to do something like some people probably think, though. Maybe, as Top Gear said, maybe speeding is actually good for the roads. Maybe it stops traffic jams. But if the evidence says that it isn't like that, and we can actually demonstrably prove it, then I'd argue that there's an issue. And obviously Top Gear is wrong. Because yeah, I remember that from years ago. It's like there were too many traffic lights and too many speed bumps, and speeding is not the issue, apparently. Yeah, speeding is not the issue. Something's a doubt myself there. Man, it's so fucking frustrating though. This is why we need to do research on these sort of things. There's probably research on that as well, like the old people drivers. And one last thing as well, I saw this thing on YouTube Shorts where someone was trying to confront a police officer in New York who was seemingly speeding, like the second most fined person in New York for speeding. I think it was New York, I could be wrong. I think it's one of the islands actually. I'm far away from New York, but anyway, he's been fined for speeding so many times and seemingly doesn't have to pay for it. And on top of that, doesn't get punished. And these people wanted to interview him to see why he was doing it and also explain the amount of deaths caused by speeding in New York. Because apparently certain speed limits end up causing more pedestrian deaths than others, which is pretty insane. So it's just very weird in that sense. Also there's corruption, but I just think that it's also questionable and something just needs to be done about this shit. It's tiring, literally. I can't believe some of this crap sometimes. Anyway, let's move on. So I have to re-record this now, right? Because I thought I said let's stop recording, but it didn't. It just went through the Summer Game first thing, and there were some reveals, but some good reveals rather, but some not. I'm not a fan of like crossover things. I have a big issue with that now. I think crossovers are a bit stupid at this point and a bit overdone, even in the case of Final Fantasy XIV here. They're doing crossovers with, well, not just Nia, but also Evangelion. Just find it incredibly dumb. There's a place for those sort of things. Like obviously Smash Bros, where its entire concept was that. But having pre-existing IPs with that sort of thing just doesn't really work in my opinion. I'm just not a fan of it. So yeah, I don't know what they're thinking with that. But I mainly wanted to talk about some of the issues around another game that was revealed here. So the other game is Final Fantasy VII. So they've released, are planning to release a game called Revelations, which is I think the third installment in their remake series, which is extremely questionable. But it's like, what is going on with this? Because I tried to look all the time into, well, all the time, I've looked several times for the order of the story and how to really play it and get up to date with it. And it's really hard to figure out because no fan has the insight and know-how of it, and given they've got over 21 games in their fucking library on top of novels and movies, it becomes extremely difficult to actually understand where to start. So it's like extremely dumb. I'm not a fan of that. But it's even worse given that you just can't find a solid answer. People say OG in the remakes, and I'm thinking, why? That doesn't make sense. And then you go onto the wiki and it lists all the games, but from what I could tell, the games are all in jumbled order in the release timeline. And then you got the chronology, which according to them, I don't know what the sources is. Chronology, according to Wiki, is the first soldier, every Crisis Before Crisis, Crisis Cores, and then Final Fantasy VII, including the remakes. I'm not sure if that is the original name remake, like people say, or if it is just the remix. Given the similarities in the image, I'm guessing it's just the remakes, and then Advent Children, which is a movie, and then Dodo Cerberus. It's just so fucking weird. Like, even below this, you got all the movies related to it, which is ridiculous. You got the books related to it. And yeah, that's about it, which is good, but it's too much. It genuinely makes no sense. I don't understand why they're doing that. It's a bit of too much at this point, and that's going to be a detriment. I'm confused as someone who doesn't even really play Final Fantasy games. I never really played them until I was an adult, and even then, it's kind of like off-putting to see this shit. So it's very weird. Again, not a fan. But I can only hope that in the future we'll see something cleared up here where we start to get, maybe instead of a fucking remake, we just get a proper game, a single one. I don't know. It's hard to say, but yeah, I just wanted to complain about this really. I'm just so fucking tired of that. So let's move on. So, is anyone even shocked that their bubble's literally about to burst right before us? It's predicted that it was going to happen at some point, not sure when, but it would. And now we're getting even closer to that, where companies are not only laying off people or rather in favour of AI, but they're also losing money for it. Thank fuck. And I can see how this already starts to happen. It's one of the first things I realised with this is it's probably happening because one, component parts are going up in price, and two, AI is not even perfected, so you can't even have it so you spend less on AI than anything else. And I'm pretty sure there's a third point, but I can't remember what it was. I guess people just aren't using it that much. I think they assumed that it would be something where you can obviously, the fuck is that beeping noise? I don't know. Have it working for people, but at this certain stage and with all the data center bullshit, there doesn't seem to be any sort of redemption for AI at all. And even though some idiots seem to keep using it for some reason on even Blue Sky, I think at least we'll probably see it die down pretty quickly after that, and then hopefully we'll see less posts about it. I think that's really important, but the only AIs I will mention as a warning that we'll probably still see is probably either open source, which generally is fine, as long as it's not stolen stuff, and a language model rather than a generative model, because I think the generative model is what a lot of places are going for when they create these things, but from what I understand of AI, I'm pretty sure there's a difference between that and language. So generative is basically generating the art from assets, and that also takes a lot of time and resources. But something like coding, where it's like you're scrambling for a bunch of letters and trying to make sense of the meaning, that's basically what it's about. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I think that it's kind of interesting But yeah, I think that we definitely need to see it fall far faster than anything else in the world at the moment. It's one of those terrible things. I'm not sure what else to add, to be honest. It's hard to say. Yeah, I can't wait for it to burst because frankly I'm so fucking fed up of it, or not always being fed up of it. It's just ridiculous, and then all these idiots, and also people don't realise, but in the political sphere, as it currently stands, they use AI so fucking much. I've seen AI videos of, in the UK at least, reform and restore basically generating images or videos, both really, of Green Party members doing things they've never actually done. And it's quite fucking dangerous in that sense. So there's also that issue, and also, we've also seen that thing with Meta, haven't we? Where the Meta AI was seemingly able to hack into accounts, and people exploited that to gain, well, they gained access to said accounts. So it's extremely disappointing to see that, but again, it's also sort of satisfying because that's sort of what's going on here, is what exactly we predicted would happen. First, it's going to be our friend, and then it's going to be our enemy, and that's exactly one of the tipping points for it. But so long as there's more enemy cases, again, they delete fucking databases and stuff, then we're in real danger. So there's also that negative where if we don't regulate this, if we don't get governments involved to stop it, we're essentially doomed. And that's the reality of it. This is why I said many years ago we should be concerned about AI, because it's stealing artwork from others, and it's also possible to become more than just generative AI, as in it could be an entire person. So yeah, anyway, we've got anything else to add, so let's bloody move on. I was just sort of really annoying day with what is frankly some of the most bullshit I've ever heard. I need to have a drink quick. I just realised I haven't touched my water yet. Yeah, I'm fine with tracking it, it's just sometimes I lose my mind and just forget to do that quick. So I feel like I have to address this just because it is a big problem. And maybe there'd hints of it in previous episodes, but I feel like this is too big to ignore, and you know, even though this is like the big 100 has somehow gone us on, I still feel like I have a need of I don't know, like, is it necessary? I think it is, yeah. I forgot the term, but I need to talk about it anyway. It feels like a necessity. So there is someone in my sphere, I won't say what their position is, that is reform. And it's like a major fucking yikes, like Jesus Christ. That is just crazy, and even worse, it's someone who's somewhat young. I'm not sure if they're the same age as me, but it's this point it wouldn't surprise me if they are. But it's just so disappointing to hear, and it is also just essentially a spit in my face because, you know, I'm someone who, I don't really self-identify as socialist, but based on everything I've gathered from research, I am a socialist, because that seems to be the only way forward. But see, other people are not, and it gets even more horrific when these people are, again, sort of believing everything reform says. And in this case, it's essentially the recent incitement for a riot from Roger Farage, which is White Lives Matter. And as we know from that, white lives don't really matter that much because they're not in a minority. Like, fucking hell, it's only a problem when it is a minority, but currently they're not. So, with All Lives Matter, it doesn't really work. Because the real racism is happening towards, ironically, the minority population, which is often non-white people. So even then, you get white immigrants who, ironically, they don't have no problem with, who obviously come here illegally and they don't bat an eye to them. Like, they don't give a shit. And it seems to be based on this thing of like, oh, you provide value to us, maybe. Like, maybe they run a, I don't know, but there's probably some white Indians out there, I could be wrong. But there's also Chinese people who are white, and there's obviously Italian people who are probably mostly white, I could be mistaken. But again, they don't bat an eye to them because they're supposedly beneficial for themselves because they make good food, which is ironic, really, because they're actually doing a job that you want them to be removed from. And yeah, it's just so fucking ridiculous. And even then, the people who are supposedly doing this racism, I don't even know if the cop in Henry Nowak's death was actually anyone foreign. Well, at least a death that's caused by the police, but obviously the stabber, the person who murdered him, with intent to murder, that is, it's very important distinction, because the actual person who murdered him was obviously the cop. The person who obviously triggered the dying is basically two people in this, as well as probably the other cop standing there. It happened to be the person who was following the Islamic belief of Sikhism. So, as for where they're from, I don't know. I'd actually need to look again, like, let me look it up. I'd have Henry Nowak, and Vikram Singh Digwa. Yeah, so that doesn't sound English to me. And there's someone assisting here in car. So yeah, like, people using this saying, oh, they're attacking all white people, they're attacking everyone. This happened back in 3rd of December 2025, by the way. There wasn't a big stir about this back then. And suddenly it's become a thing only because, obviously, Nigel Farage has incited violence over this. It's just fucking nuts. And already the Wikipedia page has been filled with these comments about how it's like 2-tier thing, and what Nigel Farage said. What is Nigel Farage even mentioned at this point? Yeah, he is. The debate over carrying knives in public, like, people don't feel fucking safe. Everyone carries a knife. I don't know where this even fucking comes from. The people who are most in danger, and this is a thing. Do you know a belt can be a deadly weapon? So do we just ban belts because they can strangle people to death? No. You people are fucking idiots. Because you don't realise how many deaths belts can actually cause. But the point is, you're allowed to carry these things around. Hell, I'm pretty convinced people even carry around guns in the UK, you just don't know. But they carry it around for safety. Which is a sad reality, because if they get attacked or harassed, and especially if it's like a woman as well, I think women should be entitled to weapons at this point, because frankly, what men do is fucking horrific, but that's generally fine as a self-defense thing. But obviously this attack was instigated through, supposedly, I believe, what was the result? Actually, I do have it open, don't I? But it wasn't related to Sikhism or, what's the other thing? I can't remember what the other thing was, I'm stupid. But apparently there's a sentencing here which probably explains it, I think. That's another bit. The murder. Yeah, let's see. Let me see if there's anything. So, does it say the cause, really. Obviously the cause of death was stabbing, I mean. But the motivation, that's what I need to look for. Apparently there isn't one. Okay. So that kind of explains a lot. It's again very worrying when people assume things. Yeah, again, I can't find anything here. Yeah, I really can't find anything on there about the motivation here. If there was one. Also, I can't read very quickly. The point is that you can't be assuming things. That's the problem here. And again, saying that people with knives in their pocket are inherently dangerous because of said knife is fucking stupid. Banning knives has never saved anyone. Because obviously it's even a law already. That's the thing. Because it is already apparently a law according to that Wikipedia page, unless I've misread it. And so the problem is the banning of knives is not going to change that. People with murderous intent are going to act on murderous intent the way that they see fit. And you can't change it. Whether it's a belt, whether it's a fucking steel toe cap boot, you never fucking know. But the murderous intent is still there. You can't change these things by removing the murder weapon, because that's just not how it works. Sort of a similar way how we see the US, it doesn't change things when you possibly remove like gun laws. And even if it does have a strong benefit to gun laws, people will find a different way to act on that. You have to understand the psychology here before you comment on the action, because that's not going to solve anything. So I do think that debate is really stupid. Again, I think women are entitled to a knife because they really need to be able to fight back against someone. And also even be taught just how to use it. For the ones who are most at risk, I think. And I think there are some women who are just fucking awful people, but I think they're quite rare now. At least from what I'm aware of these days. But it's still a possibility. But either way, again, it's the same thing. Murderous intent is murderous intent. You can't change it unless you address the source of that problem. Whether it's trauma, whether it's even just, again, having the trigger, having a weapon, maybe even seeing someone else murdered. You never know. That's why it's important to research this instead of blaming knives, blaming transitioning, for example, because that's been used as a scapegoat as well, and also even religion. People saying that the reason that there's anti-Semitism and even is it Zionism? No, Islamophobia. I think it's a different thing. But Islamophobia is also, it depends with that sort of thing, but there's never really murderous intent associated with what those beliefs are. In fact, unfortunately, most of the time it's the case where even you can correlate those sort of things, but it's not the reason why people do it. It very well can lead to it. But something like Islamophobia, I think, is a very real thing. Anti-Semitism, however, is even harder to prove, because these days, with a country that sides with Israel, which the UK is actually doing, there's proof of this out there, plenty of it. You can actually see how anti-Semitism would rise because people start to blame the Jewish people, or not Jewish people rather, but Israel and the Jewish people there for these problems that are caused, and also the amount of controversies they create. When they drop kick a fucking child for being Palestinian, like, how are you supposed to respond to that? Because apparently it's wrong here to respond to that in a reasonable manner, to condemn the actions of an Israeli/Jewish person for doing that. But that is a child that they just drop kicked and probably have fucked up their life permanently. And if we aren't allowed to criticise that, then where the fuck is our free speech? Because that is ridiculous. But that's probably why it's on the rise. people are so fed up, and also they get harassed as well, and must not forget this. Sometimes you could push people over the edge, like for example, I would say that there is a likelihood in certain cases of anti-Semitism where the said Jewish people or Israeli people are probably harassing the said person who obviously just murdered them or tried to. So, again, that's a big thing here. It's really a big deal. Because that changes everything. You see the causal effect of this. That's where it obviously starts to come in, it starts to not necessarily make sense, but it explains a lot. So I don't know what to add there, but anyway, back to the thing I was obviously addressing here, which is about just the White Lives Matter thing. Again, it seems to be very obvious that this person is using basically the algorithm from what I've seen of it anyway and understood of it, and being basically advertised reform for free. Well, it will be for free anyway, but the point is, that's bad. It's just terrible shit because the algorithm recommends you that stuff and you get into that sort of loophole. But you can have influencers as well, no doubt. I've definitely seen that firsthand. You know, even with outside influencers saying, like pushing you, oh, you need to be anti-immigrant, you need to care about these people stealing your jobs, stealing your money and your houses, even though they're not. In fact, there's already a system in place that stops that. So, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. Again, it's like scapegoating, and there's been so many times where I wanted to say, shut the fuck up, you moron. Look at the evidence, look at the research, and see for yourself. Because what you're obviously looking at is obviously false. And that is reflected in the research. I remember looking into asylum seekers and what they do. It turns out they need to go through a lengthy process to even get accepted. And hotels have to even offer their services for obviously payment. Like, that's why they do it. If their hotel's not making enough money, they convert it, and so it becomes an asylum rather than a hotel. So it's not even a hotel at that point. Again, there's so much fucking misinformation about this. They worry themselves about hotels, and since when has anyone ever fucking worried about hotels? Are you kidding me? Do people not see how ridiculous this narrative is? They're pretending to fucking care about hotels when it very obviously it's not. Like, it's just an excuse. Like, fuck me. And even then, why do you care? Because hotels are really for tourism, whether you're British or not. But they're there for a reason. So I don't get it. People just randomly jump on board with these things. There's literally... is it radicalisation? I think that might be what it is, but also something else there. Bandwagoning, I think that might be it. Or witch hunting, I don't know. It's something like that. But it's so ridiculous. Again, why are we focusing on the hotels of all things? These aren't the problems. In fact, the biggest problem with migrants I've even had to concede to, I think, was about how sometimes they can get priority over everyone else in the economy. Well, that's something I can agree on. But you won't get that without social justice. And social justice happens to include workers' rights, LGBTQ plus rights, obviously union rights, I forgot to mention that. But I'm obviously not a worker, I'm disabled. That one benefits as well. I'm too stupid for this really, but I try. But other rights, black rights, even immigrant rights, they're important too. But even sex-based rights, so everything ties into it. Disability rights, like you can name tons of minorities here that do matter. But you only solve these problems when there is social justice in place. Because you really cannot expect something like reform to somehow magically make the world right again. That does not exist. It's just a complete fucking fairy tale. It is genuinely ridiculous. So that really can't happen. I'm trying to think what else. I'm pretty sure there's more to respond to as well. That was the other thing. The straw man attacks as well. For some reason there's a mention of Pride Month being bad because it replaced Mental Health Awareness Month. There's also something about flags, but I can't remember what that was about. Yeah, the thing is, I'm pretty sure he's aware that I'm pansexual, and that's so fucking weird. Like, what? A Pride Month is specifically to celebrate the rights of LGBTQ plus people. And the reason there's an entire month to it is because we've been a hard working minority. We've tried to survive for so fucking long. Even amidst impossible odds like we are seeming to see again. I saw a video by Powered by Rainbows. Admittedly, the only problem with it is not sourcing obviously what's being said, so obviously take it with a grain of salt. But there's apparently proof out there that cavemen used to have homosexual partners permanently, and even some places that had like transgender people, they're buried, like a transgender woman was buried with women, which is also really cool, really nice, but it just really shows you there's an insane amount of truth out there if you even bother to look for it. You probably almost find it, and I remember looking at the list of LGBTQ plus politicians in the UK, and the amount of fucking conservatives on that, holy shit, it's unbelievable. Like, you wouldn't believe it, but they exist. That's the crazy thing. So why is there this fucking emphasis on beating down Pride Month when, again, it's like, I think it's estimated like 22% of the population, the entire human population, is LGBTQ plus. It's so fucking insane. But even then, it depends on the country, so depending on where you go, it's either the minority or a decent amount of people. But I don't think it's ever been a majority. So again, it's just insane why they think Pride Month is therefore a bad thing. Because men's mental health awareness is sort of not even given the light of day. Even though it is important. That's the thing, and I'm pretty sure it's like another day, like what's men's mental health awareness? Is that a month? Let's see. When Health Sport Pop Healthline. Is that a month then? Month. I feel more it's a month. It doesn't say the month. The fuck? Okay, thanks Healthline. You are useless. So what is the month? That's what I wanted to know. Again, there isn't one, like 2nd of June? May? When is it? There's another source here, like when? Healthline again. But there's no when. This is a crazy thing that International Mental Health Awareness. Why do these other articles then come up? There's apparently a site for this. It's just blank, great. So there isn't one. Fair enough, that's bad. Even then, does it deserve a month? Because it almost feels insulting as well. That's the other thing I have to acknowledge with this, because a day would be fine. But men aren't even in a minority. And mental health, on the other hand, probably is. And that's the problem here. Because we shouldn't be able to be fighting over this shit. There is no conflict between Pride Month and Men's Mental Health Month. In fact, there's probably more men with mental health issues in LGBTQ+, obviously Pride Month, than there is just normal cisgender straight men. That's a hell of an assumption from me, but I really do think that is true. Because there's no doubt a lot of that happening in people now. So it's a bit ridiculous to say that Pride Month is a kind of worthless, useless thing, given that men have to go through a lot being LGBTQ+ anyway. Admittedly, I've been lucky because I obviously didn't realise until I was an adult. But I think other people have been kind of unfortunate being exposed to constant bullying and harassment, and even children as well, for some fucking reason. Literal adults bullying children, which is it's ridiculous. This is why Pride Month is exactly celebrated as part of the community. It's part of showing that we obviously have a right to live, and also we need to keep it alive so we survive all this. It's not going anywhere because, again, history has taught us you can never truly get rid of us. We're everywhere. But that's the thing. If you don't want to admit that as your problem, you're gonna have to fucking face a fucking Goliath here. And however you address that, it's gonna be your issue as well. But it's only because you couldn't come to fucking terms with it. I can't even imagine how weak-minded you have to be to even think of LGBTQ+ or even Pride Month as being a threat, as being anything like that. It's just ridiculous. So I do not fucking understand anymore. Yeah, is there anything else with this? Oh yeah, the fucking quote unquote hang the packies. Yep. That's the thing that's said. Totally normal, right? No. So it's extremely fucking concerning when people will say that, even though it's sort of jokingly in a way. It's just extremely concerning. I just can't stand it. Yeah, especially with everything that they're going through these days, and oftentimes it's not even about nationality anyway. It's about problems that surround them. Just like with the story that literally blew up the entire United Kingdom thing, with that being a Pakistani man who raped a child, and I think murdered her as well, actually. It's like a teenager, not even someone who's old. But, that person, obviously a complete cunt, deserves to rot in prison. But we're not going to get anywhere by targeting every single Pakistani person, I mean. Because it's not Pakistani people who are the problem. It's usually white British people. We can see that in the evidence. Again, this is why you do research. The majority of rape cases against children, even murders, is by white British people in the UK. And that's pretty much demonstrable. Again, you just need to do the research on this. Even just look for someone who represents it in an unbiased way. So, this is where we're at. And even then, with a claim like that, where all Pakistanis are then therefore child rapists, where's your fucking proof? Oh Jesus Christ, we just had a Pakistani man on Taskmaster. Obviously he's famous, he's an actor, he doesn't even live in the UK, I don't think. But the point is, why the fuck are Pakistani men being targeted for this? Why? It just doesn't make sense to me. You can't even prove it. And even then, it's even being used to justify discrimination against other people of other ethnicities and race. There have been black people who have been harassed, British black people all the way. I've seen TikToks before where literal British black people, they speak in the accent we have. I've been told by elderly people that they should go back to their own fucking country, and the British person says, the black British person says, "Excuse me?" It's like, what the fuck is going on? It's so dumb, and people just assume anything about someone. And even then, they double down on it. That's the crazy thing. These fucking old cunts don't even realise this is literally a true British person. It doesn't matter if they're black. They're all British. That's the crazy thing about that. Even then, we've also got migrants working in our health sectors and stuff, and that is a big deal. Migrants working in health sectors means that we have healthcare, but without them, we won't. And in fact, it'll be so bad for healthcare, we'll start to see new illnesses that we never even thought possible. Yeah, probably end up a little worse off than even the poorest countries out there. So that's where we're headed with a reform government, or even a restore government. So we can't obviously be operating off this assumption that all migrants are bad because of what? It's so fucking ridiculous. Again, do your research. Fuck's sake. I don't think there's anyone I've ever wanted to fucking punch more in the face than this person. Just makes no sense. So yeah, I'm trying to think. What else is there to even say here? Well, just feeling shit. Yeah, I can't think of anything else, but that's addressing the troubling dickhead in my life at the moment. I don't know how to say it, but it seems to be a reality. So yeah, I guess I need to move on then. I'm tired. A few more things actually. Why do you think it's justifiable to even bully people? It seems to be the mentality of reform and restore voters. But for some reason they think it's okay to bully people. Just for any other reason. It's obviously concerning. Because I just see this a lot. With obviously the harassment against migrant workers and stuff. Yeah, it's absurd. That is literally bullying, and the same with going to hotels, migrant hotels. Again, they're called hotels because they used to be hotels, they're not actually hotels. But it's fucking ridiculous. People harass them for no reason. What's also absurd is that some of these people probably have fled from their country because of issues that we've essentially solved. That's why they've come here. And on top of that, it's also a Western country, so we also count as being a sort of beacon in a way to get them to the USA in a sense, but that's another issue. I could be wrong on that, but that's the way I see it. The problem is, if you just beat down on someone because of them existing, you've probably got it wrong. That's just seems to be the way I view it, and even just based on research, I realise the more you just treat people with no respect or dignity, which ironically this person said that people don't have any respect anymore, ironic, then you just start to get shit in return, because the shit you get in return is obviously bad. As in, people won't respect you either, people will not treat you nicely, in fact I know people that wouldn't. And it just really backfires. All these actions have consequences. In the same way that voting someone like Reform will have a massive consequence to the world. Because we'll also get involved in Trump's war somehow. And these are illegal wars, by the way. But on top of that, we'd also have struggles for proper rights. So someone like myself, where I'm autistic and I have many other issues as well, like OCD and depression, I end up struggling in daily life. That's why it's so hard for me to even bother with finding a way to even work, because I just don't think there is a possibility. In fact, it takes me so long to get my hobbies done in the morning, and even later on, I just don't have the time. And this in itself proves that I'm just unable to work. Under a reform government, or even restore, there won't be any disability benefits for me. So I can't even find the way to work and even have an opportunity to make a career. Yeah, my sort of dream job is actually to be a soundtrack composer. Even then, close to that would be possibly even a game developer, and that seems hard as well. And I do struggle with doing the things I do at the moment. It's not easy to calm, and I have learning difficulties on top of this. So that also complicates things further. And I need support from benefits to be able to do that. And I've also heard something else stupid which I thought was ridiculous. So it was basically saying that people on benefits should be stuffed into flats, or what are basically apartments, which I think is really fucking stupid. Like, why stuff people like that into apartments? Like, it makes no sense. Because there are going to be families on benefits who, even then, I don't think deserve to be in a fucking flat. If anything, flats should be reserved for elderly people and, to an extent, even disabled people. But obviously there needs to be some thought put into it, so we're not just putting people in these stacked towers of fucking apartments that people don't even need or want. We need accessible places, so you know, it needs to be feeling like a home and feeling accessible. In fact, the only way you get me into a flat, I previously lived in one as a child and I hated it. I forget how to mention that story. But it needs to be not only accessible but possible to live in. So there's like a lack of noise, which would be good, because I struggle with noise a lot because of OCD and autism, sensory issues. But I also need to have good access to the toilet, for example. I need a bidet because I struggle with using the toilet as a result of my Crohn's disease. But there's even more on top of that. There's a need for support in my day-to-day life, so I need to be able to get around. So again, stuffing me into a flat because I'm on benefits just makes no sense. The amount of needs I have require me to be in a place that's actually safe for my well-being, but as it currently stands, I'm suffering as a result. I'm dying because I cannot actually sustain living in this sort of place, and even the place I'm in now isn't even good. It's quite pathetic. I remember weighing up the options by rating, in terms of not options, but rating it against my last house, and this house won by only a few points, which is fucking insane. But this is why I struggle, and I can't find anywhere that's safe. In fact, I've started to not feel safe in general because of the amount of bullshit at the moment. I've been wanted to find a place to keep for myself at this point because I need it. And I hate that I'm taking up a space in a house that could have gone to a family, but at the end of the day, when flats aren't even suited for my purpose, I cannot justify going there. I cannot justify living in a place like that. Whether I'm on top or above someone, it's gonna be on top or above. Well, it's the same thing. What am I saying? Bottom. If I'm on the bottom of a flat or something, and it's like a 2-story one, it still isn't good enough. So I have to end up living in a house because there is no way for me to survive under those circumstances. In fact, if I was in those places, I'd start to be the nuisance because people would piss me off so fucking much, they'd have to learn their lesson. And I'd be playing loud music, I'd get a drum set as well. They'd start to fucking complain, and I'd be like, oh, well, you know, you do this to me, so why should I fucking go? You know, this is the problem. So no, don't stuff people into flats, you fucking moron. They're there for a reason, but they're not for the people you think they're for. So, on top of that as well, game reform won't even give you better housing. They'll take away housing rights. They'll take away, obviously, any way you can pay for houses at this point, just for rent. They seem to want to take away everything that will make it possible to live, and even in my situation, they'll take away everything I have that helps me live. I've got pretty severe mental health issues, as I've said, that are potentially even killing me because I don't even know how long I can sustain being under so much stress and physical health problems and complications. So that's again more absurdity here. I don't even know what else to add. It's also like laughing at other people's misfortunes as well, which feels quite callous. It's not even necessarily like a misfortune of like, someone that actually doesn't mind being made fun of, although I'm not 100% sure on that myself. It's actually a case where they think harassing people of certain religions is like fine and doesn't. Well, it does harm them, that's the point. They think it's funny. Like, what the fuck? He laughs at something like tells a story sometimes, I don't know why. Apparently there's someone who cooked bacon outside an asylum hotel or something, which also is really fucking stupid because you don't even know if any of them in those hotels are even Muslim. I guarantee you they're probably not. That's the fucking crazy thing. Unless Pakistan is suddenly a Muslim country and I'm not aware of it, I don't know how that works, but it's so fucking dumb. And somehow that's the funny thing. Well, it's not. You're harassing people for religious beliefs, which by the way is a form of hate speech, and you can be arrested for that. It should be, in certainly a lot of cases like this one. But that's again the problem here. Because that isn't even like free speech. In fact, it's the same as someone going to, even doing the same to like a vegan, or even doing it to someone who's like very anti-dog meat. It's the same thing. These things are equatable. But you don't even apply that because you haven't thought about it. You're either too stupid or too blinded to realise it. So there's so much ridiculousness from this aspect here. And your argument just doesn't stand. And it doesn't prove anything either. Going to a fucking asylum hotel to protest and even cook bacon for whatever reason. That's not doing anything. It's just showing that you're either human or you're just a fucking idiot. In fact, it probably makes you less human, depending on who you've pissed off. But yeah, like obviously if you poke, and I wouldn't want to call it hornet's nest, but if you poke a nest like that, you got guarantee someone's going to respond to it. So it's just, again, more ridiculousness. But this is the other thing as well. I'd also argue that, because I started to realise this recently, I said it in the Blue Sky post, and I've also said it in the podcast. I honestly think the biggest problem people have with minorities, like migrants, like LGBTQ+, and even disability, isn't so much the fact that they are supposedly taking money from people or the economy, or even just causing problems in society. It's the fact that these people are jealous that we can survive, we can just be ourselves. I think that's all it is. I think they're literally just jealous. Like, they want to be a migrant, they want to be a disabled person, they want to be LGBTQ+, they even want to be women. Let's go for that. But I start to believe that's true the more I think about it. That's always seems to be what it's about. Because it's obviously not about hatred of racism, it's obviously about that. God, that sort of reminds me of the idiot who came to my channel to say you don't know the difference between a legal and legal immigrant, when I was arguing the fact that no matter what party you go for, they want both of them out, both legal and illegal immigrants. It's not that I don't understand the difference, it's that you don't. Which is honestly projection. Which is the other thing, I suppose, as well. Because it's just jealousy. It always seems to be what it's about. So yeah, and also I'll just argue that the most terroristic thing you can do is provoke people into doing those things. So whenever there is a terrorist account where someone's been maybe written a manifesto saying that, oh, well, these people are starting to harass me online and in person and go into my house every day and for some reason throwing rocks at my window, of course they're going to fucking respond violently. The real criminals in that case are the people who drove them mad. The white British people who harassed them non-stop for existing. Given there's no correlation to any like past wrongdoings or anything, you know, there's not really an issue. But that's why it's so fucking wrong. You can't be again picky on people expecting them not to retaliate. It's just fucking ridiculous. Even then, if you're doing it to incriminate them, you're the bigger criminal in that situation. Because you're again sparking this outrage. You're purposely putting them there. Putting them in this situation that they have no escape from. I kind of just don't know what to add. I've pretty much exhausted this topic at this point. But as I said before, I'm willing to be proven wrong. It's just that nobody has. Nobody's even fucking bothered to put thought into it, so what do I even say? If there's no thought put into it, then what the fuck am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to know what you mean when you say fuck migrants? I guess I can interpret that another way. Like you actually love them. Seriously, that's what it fucking sounds like at this point. The fuck, you're bigger lovers of migrants than what we are. We socialists and leftists. Oh fucking god. Anyway, I'm figured I'm done here. How long has the podcast got for? Oh, it's quite long. Okay, so this will be the last one, I guess. I don't really have anything for the 100 celebration. Don't really want to celebrate, to be honest. It's been pretty miserable lately, actually. But yeah, thanks for listening.